Motorcycling is a very sensory experience, and we, as motorcyclists, as motorcycle lovers and enthusiasts, are always on our toes to see how to make our motorcycle rides a little more exciting, a little more engaging, how to get that extra oomph out of our motorcycles, aren't we? So, in that regard, it gives me great excitement to declare that I've got three such performance upgrade parts for my Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, which is going to help me extract a little extra power, a little extra torque, so that the experience on the motorcycle becomes that much more exciting. Here is my Interceptor. So I'll be setting things up and proceed to make a video on my Interceptor 650, right? I'm so super duper excited on having my hands laid upon the performance upgrade parts for the Interceptor. So let me quickly welcome you all to my channel, to your channel, and to our channel, The Rolling Nomad. Today we are going to discuss the three performance upgrade parts that we can install on Interceptor 650, or for that matter on any motorcycle, to get a little extra out of our motorcycles, to make our motorcycle rides a little more exciting. So let me quickly take you all on that journey. Let's have this vlog created for all Interceptor lovers. Right, so let's go ahead and check the parts out, and then I'll also be making a video later on after I install those parts to have a contrast of how the stock behavior of the motorcycle was and how the behavior happens to be after the installation of those performance parts. So let's go ahead and do it. The first of these three parts is the FuelX fuel optimizer from Race Dynamics. The second part, let's move over to that, is something from the same company, Race Dynamics. It's a Powertronic ECU. And the third component that we have with us is this, a set of PowerRage SlipOn exhaust system. When we are talking about performance, slip-on exhausts are not really that efficient, but I'll tell you why exactly I chose the PowerRage slip-on exhausts over a full system exhaust or slip-on exhausts of some other brands. So let's talk about all the three components one by one. So this device that you're seeing here, this is the FuelX electronic fuel injection optimizer. What this does is, I'll explain to you in a bit, but let's open this box and take a look at the content inside the box. So once we open the package, this is what is contained inside the package. So this is the main unit. This is the external ECU, which is going to trick the stock ECU on the motorcycle in order to change the fueling on the motorcycle. This is a small, I guess we can call it a goodie set. So here we have a key ring, then we have some zip ties, some stickers, and all those things. Now moving on, this is the switch. So this has a 10-stage switching option. If you see here, there are two buttons, plus and minus. So this is what's going to allow you to change the setting, which will in turn change the fueling on your motorcycle. And then you have the wire harness here. So let's talk about what this thing actually does. Alright, so now let's try and understand what is the role of this external fuel optimizer and how it does what it does. Also, we'll understand what exactly it does. Now, in the old days, when we are talking about the old internal combustion engines, which were very less electronic in nature, fueling on those kind of engines used to be handled by a particular apparatus which was known as the carburetor. Using the carburetor, you could set how much fuel you can pass inside the combustion chamber. Now, as per your requirement, you could play with that carburetor setting. Now, for most modern motorcycles or engines, they come pre-fitted with what is called as the ECU, which stands for Electronic Control Unit. In a way, it's like an observer of what's going on in the engine overall, and then it learns over a period of time, and then accordingly it delivers its output. Now, most electronic ECUs with regard to fueling is set at a preset level of how much fueling it should do based on the quality of ride needed for an average motorcycle rider for which that particular motorcycle is meant. So what that means is, even if you'd like to play around with the fueling setting on the motorcycle, you're not going to be able to do that. Why is that important? Let's take an example and understand. So let's say you are riding on a mountainous terrain, which means that the altitude at which you are going to be riding is sufficiently higher than your normal riding terrain. As we move towards the upper atmosphere, the amount of oxygen goes on decreasing, which means that if the fueling cannot be played around with, if you are riding in that kind of terrain, what's going to happen is, for the same amount of fuel, lesser oxygen supply will be available for combustion of the fuel. That would lead to inefficient burning or inefficient combustion of the fuel. And you don't want that, because that also reduces the ride quality. That compromises in the overall engine efficiency. You are going to be burning fuel inefficiently, and that leads to decreased mileage numbers. So that is what the main mandate on this external fuel optimizer is, that it should help in efficient burning of the fuel that goes inside the combustion chamber. And how does it do it? Remember, I had shown you a switch which had a plus and a minus. What the plus and the minus allow you to do is, there are 10 stages between which you can play around with that plus and the minus switch. So let's say you are on setting 1. When you are in the setting 1, you basically are letting the engine know that it's going to receive a very low amount of fuel. Now, when that becomes handy is when the air supply to the combustion chamber is also very low. Because if there is too much fuel that's being injected inside the combustion chamber, but compared to that, the amount of oxygen that the engine is able to intake, if that is very low, the burning would be inefficient. So in that kind of setting, you want to decrease the amount of fuel that goes inside the combustion chamber. Likewise, if you are in a place where there is ample amount of oxygen supply, you want to have a little more performance extracted out of the engine. If you're trying to get a little more torque out of it, in those kind of situations, you can opt for a setting above 4 up to 10. Now, that all depends upon how are you going to ride the motorcycle, what kind of ride quality are you expecting out of your motorcycle, right? So that is what the main mandate on the fuel injector ECU is. And this is one of the ways through which you can play around with the fueling of the motorcycle, thereby allowing the motorcycle to behave in a way that is compliant with the external conditions. You won't be able to change the external situation. You cannot be changing the external settings, but you can definitely do a couple of things inside your engine to comply with the external situation. So this device is going to take care of the fueling in that particular aspect. All right, friends, so let's keep this vlog here, but in the next one, in the part 2, we are going to discuss the Powertronic ECU and the PowerRage slip-on exhausts. So if you have liked this video, I urge that you subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and let me know about your inputs. You have the comment section to yourself. Adios.